2 false
I'm
starts.
just gonna talk and what makes it into the podcast makes
Scott,
sense to the
Tim,
podcast.
Sean, Greg, Jess, Penelope, and Justin.
That's
But
me.
you're gonna forget his name first.
I was
This is our
actually.
San Diego Comic-Con wrap-up podcast.
Where you don't need a wristband to start talking.
And you don't need boobs to be dazzling.
I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Yeah, I like it.
This is our San Diego Comic-Con wrap-up podcast extravaganza.
Palooza.
We're in the
Palooza.
depths of
Today.
Hall H at San Diego Comic Con, where all the awful things happen.
We've been camped here for 3 days.
The smell is incredible.
The
We've
smell
been
of beautiful
camped here for
men.
3 days in order to get the back seats.
I can just imagine, like, the whole city has this waft of just, like, unshowered.
like Los Angeles. They just see the big
That's
cloud
a
of.
stereotype, Tim. I don't like your
Have you
stereotype.
been to
there.
Comic-Con?
They've been
No,
sleeping
nerds are
in the
smelly.
same line for 3
Okay,
days.
maybe those nerds are smelly.
Yeah.
Not all nerds.
Listen, that'll be me for the new Star Wars movie, and you don't even need to wait in line for it.
I've already
I'm
started.
gonna be in front of the theater. I'm not showering until that movie comes
I've
out.
cloned myself to
sweating.
stand in line for the new Star Wars movies.
So, on the very often rare chance that this is your first podcast, let's go around and introduce ourselves. Joining me tonight is Greg, Jess, we've got Penelope, back in the corner, Justin, Scott, who you may or may not be able to see. Next to me is Tim, and I'm Sean. And let's get started again for the 4th time.
Yes.
San Diego Comic-Con was terrible this year. Let's go.
Oh, come on.
Oh.
What about that Hawkeye? That Hawkeye poster was worth it alone. Come on, you have to admit that was pretty good.
Yes, one photo manipulated picture made the entire convention and all its terrible news worth it.
I'm glad we agree.
Yeah.
2 seconds of a Batman-Superman showdown.
With glowy
I
eyes.
lost my
Eyes
mind!
Whoa!
Like, I get Superman's eyes glowing. Why is Batman's?
Because they're in that
He's
movie
in a
together.
But Wonder Woman doesn't look patriotic enough. She's
didn't that
not
happen in the last
sexy.
She's wearing too many clothes.
I took
Yeah.
that as night
I don't
She
know.
has a sword, not a
this is
lasso. This is totally terrible.
I took it as night vision too. We're having like 3 conversations.
Yeah, all right.
So did
So
I.
let's go with glowy eye Superman Batman, and then we'll get back to Wonder Woman because it's the same movie.
I took it as some sort of night vision. And he was definitely in some sort of armor, right? It looked like they're about to show
It
down.
looked
Yeah.
like the Dark Knight.
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think they've come out and said that it's the Dark Knight armor.
I just said that just because it was an awful feed of that, so it looked really bad from that angle. And
Oh yeah,
It was.
the shot is
What's
really
up
bad
with
of it.
them doing all these like crazy exclusive reveals and then absolutely refusing to put it on?
Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier. Like, at E3 is kind of similar in terms of like announcements and stuff, but when you put a game commercial there, you put it up on the internet so everyone can watch it.
usually
Yeah, but
live
it's-
as it happens.
Yeah.
It's a thank you to the people who paid for their convention passes. It's like they've complained about it before, where it's like I paid $65 for this week pass, and when I could have stayed at home, not bought the hotel tickets or plane fare, and seen the exact same thing with better footage.
But you know, here's the problem with that, though, is they're trying to promote these movies to probably the widest audience possible. Yeah, a lot of people are at San Diego Comic-Con, but a lot of people, even more people, aren't. And then I have to go on IGN and read them break down the Avengers 2 teaser.
There's a bigger
It's way
problem with
lamer.
that, though. Not only that, but people who are at the con can't all go. Not every single attendee gets to see that. And then invariably somebody records it. And then what you see online is this terrible, like, shaky cam version of it. So you're going to see it anyway.
It's
like,
the problem of the convention having grown too big for itself,
Yeah.
so that the people who attend it can't see anything. And it's like that's what they've said for the last couple of years. It's like you go to San Diego Comic-Con, you pick the thing you want to see that day, and you spend the rest of the day in line waiting for it.
So
That's so fun.
I feel like that's a theme of this Comic-Con is it's grown too big for itself.
Yeah.
that is the
About
prevailing
many
attitude.
different subjects, people have said that about
It's
a lot
grown
of different aspects.
Too
of it.
big, and it's grown too exclusionary.
Well, let's get to that in a second, but we were still talking about Batman, Superman, and then Wonder Woman.
Wonder
Just had
Woman.
mentioned Wonder
Yes.
Woman.
Yeah. I personally think she looks pretty good. I think the costume is, as accurate as they could do. She looks like an Amazon. The
Yeah.
sword, I think, is a nice touch.
I think so too.
But everyone online and on the radio, I was listening to a local radio station driving to work one day, and it's like, well, it's not red, white, and blue. I don't understand why they're taking the patriotism out of her costume.
I was
Is it
stunned
Fox
that
News
people
Radio?
had negative reactions to that because I saw the picture and I'm like, yeah, that's Wonder Woman. And then
Yeah.
all the comments online were like, that's terrible.
So real quick, Jess, you said they had a problem with a sword too.
Yeah, she has a sword instead of her lasso.
It's
People
funny.
don't read
Well,
comics.
you know, I'm saying, like, throughout the whole run of
Yeah.
Brian Arizello's run of Wonder Woman, she's had a sword. She uses her lasso, but she uses the sword quite often.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they they remember the cheesy 70s Wonder
Yeah.
Woman.
That's
where
what that's
she,
all based.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's
Yeah.
opinion is based on.
Yeah.
Here's my one problem with the Wonder Woman costume. And it's not really a problem with the costume. And it kind of goes into the color thing, but like, it's just the Man of Steel color palette is really washed out.
Yeah.
And that
Ugh.
it's just a washed out version of.
It also
It would look better, I think, if there wasn't as colored.
it also
green.
looks exactly like Xena.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
anyone
Yeah,
see
it's
that
just
side by
brown.
side?
Yeah.
I saw that picture.
Yeah.
But someone also took the picture and like put the colors back in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
It looks
great.
like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's incredible.
But,
I think that's their version of gritty realism is washing
Yeah.
the color out.
you know, it's also...
The same in video games.
It's also a
for
promotional
recently.
shot, so the same as the reveal of Ben Affleck as Batman, where it's not
all black and white,
it's not
yeah.
a screenshot, it's a filtered image of him in the costume.
But it is
Yeah.
Zack Snyder, and we know it's probably going to look like that in the movie.
Yeah,
So, all right.
Man, he had a furrowed brow. Did you really see that? It was just like,
Oh,
two
yeah.
camel toes. Sticking out.
Wow.
I like the way it looks. And then
Wow,
I sat
Justin.
there.
Wow. Can you go back to that again? Can you say
It
it one
was
more
like two moose
That's the-
knuckles.
There you go.
that sure is an image.
Yeah.
It's the first thing that popped in my head.
And we're fighting
Dazzling
sexism.
image. Yeah, it's a dazzling image.
Wait, what?
So, I don't really understand the excitement over. I think people are just starved to see Batman and Superman on the
They-
screen.
they-
Sometime.
They want a good Batman Superman movie. It's also the prelude to the Justice League movie, so it's getting
How is it not the Justice League movie at this point? Anyway, we've
Yeah.
got Cyborg and
Wonder Woman.
and
it's
Someone
like the
else,
issue
Aquaman.
0 of the Justice League movie where they're introducing all the characters so
Yeah.
that they can actually do Justice League stuff in the
But
Justice
still,
League movie.
it sounds like, yeah, exactly. Just like a couple quick cameos of things and...
Yeah. They won't actually be the Justice League. They won't be the team
The
as
Rock-
of yet, it seems like.
The Rock said he has an. Did he make an announcement?
Yes,
yet?
he
gonna be
teased
Shazam.
Shazam. Yeah, he teased
Oh,
Shazam,
okay,
yeah.
that's-
Wow.
inspired. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too. That's
He's a
awesome.
grown man that can act like a 10-year-old. So.
Yeah.
That's Vin Diesel also.
Vin Diesel's great.
Vin Diesel's Groot.
Him
I know.
at the UK premiere, he's on
He
stilts with the
showed up
I
in
am
stilts.
Groot
Awesome.
t-shirt. Everyone else is in fancy suits, and he's just like, I don't care, I am Groot.
He's a huge nerd. Too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is you wouldn't get if you watched his movies.
Dude, we just went.
He's typecast now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Fast, Furious,
come on.
Triple
How much
X and
range
stuff,
does the guy have?
He might. We don't know.
His
He
best
was
role
the Iron Giant.
Oh,
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know.
His best role was the Iron Giant.
Second best
Well-
looks like it's gonna be Groot.
On going from on the opposite from the DC movies, Marvel's movies, and I have my own strong opinions about some of the announcements, but at least I'm disappointed that they didn't have anything new, like no new movies, no new teasers for like Doctor Strange, which has been talked about for
Yeah.
years. It's
Yeah.
like there's no announcements of casting. There weren't any new movies like coming 2019.
They did a sequel to Guardians in 2018.
Right,
But that
that's-
wasn't their headlining news. There wasn't
No.
any images. It's just like expect
No.
this.
Yeah.
Typically,
There was
they
no
have
Ultron stuff.
No, they had Ultron.
They had
stuff.
Ultron stuff, but they have had Ultron stuff for the last 2
Oh yeah,
years.
but nothing exclusive or,
Yeah,
wow
or nothing new.
Oh, okay.
I feel though, I feel like how we talked about, going back to our E3 one, we're talking about like how there was nothing, there's people going too far ahead now, complaining as to how there's nothing too far ahead now because of
Yeah.
something else. So I
They're
feel,
trying to play
They
the
did
catch-up
have,
game.
so I feel like there has to be a good medium somewhere, and I get like these things are supposed to have some breaking news, and they did have a lot of news things, and we all want to have know about what's going on with the Marvel movies or DC movies or whatever else. But I feel like their goal right now is to hype you up for Ant-Man, Avengers 2.
Well, they
Batman,
sure did a
Superman.
terrible job of hyping me for Ant-Man.
Marvel
but-
also had some big announcements with their books
Yeah.
instead of maybe they were trying to focus more on the books than they were on the.
I know there.
There wasn't a ton.
Kevin
Three
Feige, I think his name is, the executive producer of the Marvel
Yeah.
Cinematic
Star
Universe.
Wars?
Had at a panel early in the convention where people were asking him, it's like, a lot of fans are demanding, for example, a Black Widow movie or Captain Marvel or the Black Panther, where it's like things that have been in the rumor mill for a while. And he explicitly said that they don't want to focus on so many franchises that it'll start to get too crazy, focus on the ones they have, but also that they won't be pressured into diversity and introducing, just because fans want a Black Widow movie doesn't mean that they're going to cave to pressure and do Black Widow.
It just seems weird that they wouldn't do a Black Widow movie, considering how popular her character is.
and how famous
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson is.
On the one hand, I can understand, the desire to focus on the franchises. Like, if you're gonna focus on like Cap 3 or Thor 3 or Ant-Man 2 or Avengers 3 or what have you. But on the other hand, seems flippant to sort of disregard fans' questions of why aren't there these movies for these characters that you've been having in like cameo appearances.
Not to defend them, because I mean it's a massive company now owned by an even larger company, so who really gives a rat's butt about that? But I think they might be starting to think about the long-term viability of some of these franchises in terms of casting. They might not have a lot to announce right now, because how many more times can they rope Robert Downey Jr. into being Tony Stark? How many more times can Chris Hemsworth be Thor?
But that's why you announce new movies, so that you can stagger the franchises, so that like Black Widow comes out the same time as like Iron Man 4, and you can start to shift the focus as opposed
but that's what I mean. Like they might be focused on like what are we doing next with that before they're willing to announce anything else. That might be where their energies are. I don't know. I have no idea. Who cares?
At least it felt like
we're gonna get a billion Marvel movies from now until the day we all die.
at least for the first time in a couple years since the Marvel hype train has been going very strong, it felt like it fell flat at San Diego this year, where there wasn't anything new and nothing really got me excited.
I feel like they want to milk the Avengers teat.
Yeah.
As much
that's
as they
probably
can.
it. They've got a full year now actually a little less than a full year, right? Because it's the 1st of May, and this was in July. So that's probably exactly what it is. They're like, well, let's take this year and get everybody hyped at San Diego, and then ride that train until May 1st.
It's gonna make a lot of
They
money.
do a great job by hyping it, by having your actors go and say certain stupid things that I've already talked everyone here to death about.
Yeah, I think that we could talk about that in another podcast in depth, and maybe wait until they confirm or deny more details about that.
Suffice to say, at least I'm concerned for the portrayal of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and we'll move on from there.
Yeah, good. Anybody else have any comments about Marvel before we move on?
I think they're doing a great job.
You would, Greg.
I'm a sucker. Remember, I like Michael Bay, so it's true.
Like Justin was saying, they announced a lot of their Star Wars books. Now they have the license back.
Yeah.
You took my thunder. The person who hates Star Wars.
Oh.
Darn
Wait,
you.
what? I don't hate Star Wars.
No, I said I don't hate Star Wars.
Oh
honestly,
my God.
but
That's
I'm,
right, you hate Star Wars and like Michael Bay.
yeah. But I was gonna say I'm sort of excited about. So against that, I'm actually pretty I've been reading the Brian Wood Star Wars. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really excited that Marvel isn't deciding just to hold on to that property and not do anything with it, which they did with they got all the Disney characters back, like Darkwing Duck, Chip and Tail, and those books were so good, but they stopped doing them. I was afraid the same thing was going to happen with Star Wars books because they weren't going to do anything. But now I'm really happy they're doing.
The Darkwing Duck creative team wanted to make more comics.
Yeah.
I thought they announced that they weren't, that all now the license is transferred, they're not going to continue any of the stuff from the Dark Horse.
They're not
They're
continuing
not.
those
No, it's a new
books.
story.
It's new.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's between A New Hope and Empire.
It almost takes place exactly when the
I know
Dark
that's-
Horse books did, but a different story.
I know that's when the Darth Vader book is set to take place, but is that the same for the ongoing and the Princess Leia
Right after New Hope.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Okay.
About, I don't know about the Princess Leia one, but I know Star Wars and Darth
After New
Vader.
Hope as well, I think.
For those who haven't heard, there's at least 3 Star Wars books coming out from Marvel. There's a Darth Vader focused book written by Kieran Gillen. There's a Princess Leia miniseries written by Mark Waid, and there is a general Star Wars ongoing written by Jason Aaron that'll all be premiering from
Pretty
Marvel.
good lineup.
Man,
Yeah.
you nailed some information.
Princess
I'm lucky if I
Leia
remember
by Mark Waid. That's pretty
It was
cool.
Star
Yeah,
Wars.
but that's-
They're doing Star Trek.
That's a miniseries as opposed to the other 2, which are going to be ongoings.
I kind of get that because Mark Waid's doing 3 or 4 other books right now.
So
it's
is
5
Jason
books.
Aaron and Kieran Gillen.
I feel like they're a little less.
No, they're not.
No.
Marvel milks their creative team.
Kieran,
But Mark Waid does a lot of his
Yeah.
own. Well, number one, he owns a comic half of a comic store.
Yeah.
He also writes a bunch of stuff for his Thrill Bent.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Visual.
They're a little bit less stretched out.
Yeah.
than
They
he would be.
all do a lot of work.
That's true.
But doesn't I say the artist for Star Wars I'm a little concerned about because it's John Cassidy, and he's notorious for being late all the time.
Yeah, didn't he do that X-Men book?
He
That
did
was
Astonishing X-Men.
Astonishing.
He did something else recently too, which he was.
He did something between that.
Astonishing.
Those 2 things.
Yeah, so basically, if he has the first arc, 3 or 4 issues, and then he's off, I'll be pretty happy with that because then we'll never get Star Wars.
I feel like Terry Dodson was announced on one of the books.
I
Oh,
think
I
he's
think
doing,
he's Leia.
Leia?
I think he's
Okay.
Leia.
they're at least doing. He's at least doing the covers to Leia. He's
Yeah.
only showing the
Yeah.
one cover.
That's right. But I am really excited about that.
I'm surprised at the lack of Star Wars news at Comic Con. Actually,
Yeah.
They're in the middle of filming.
but it's Comic Con. You know, everybody wants to have something set up there and show 2 seconds of a movie, just like with Batman. So everybody loses their mind.
Or at least a
Teaser or
logo,
something.
like a logo where it's like on a
Yeah.
black background with a date.
Or
Yeah,
episode
exactly.
7,
We have it- we
whatever
have a
it's
date.
called.
Yeah, but usually they have that teaser.
Like
Yeah,
they did for
I
Avengers
was
for
expecting
Avengers Age of
something.
Ultron
Yeah.
with Iron Man and
Footage of Harrison Ford getting.
I
his
feel like
plane crashed.
in the past couple podcasts, I found that I made up facts. Like I just said, this thing happened and then it didn't actually happen. But I feel like I read somewhere that said that they wouldn't be at San Diego.
How about
ahead of time?
you do a
Yeah.
pop up?
Yeah, and then usually it's the pop up saying, "No, I'm wrong.
you're wrong.
I'm completely wrong.
I know.
That never happened."
I know that EA was pushed to not pretty much say anything about the games at E3 because they were not ready at all.
Yeah.
So I think maybe Disney realizes like if they're not ready, let's just keep them to ourselves for now.
They're in the
Yeah.
desert filming this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they wanted to fly anybody out.
You know, it's Star Wars. It's Comic Con. You know, it's
it could be an X-wing.
Next year,
Flying
I'm sure
across
it'll
the
be
screen.
next year.
We
I'm
got-
sure it'll be all
Yeah.
over.
But we
Yeah.
got the X-wing.
we certainly
yeah,
did.
that's cool. I don't want to waste a lot of time, but they revealed the new X-wing on the.
Speaking of in the
The
desert,
charity.
I know you in particular are happy for Mad Max news that came out.
Yes, that was the next thing. I figured we could jump from movie
Take
to
it
movie.
away.
I've been waiting for this movie, this Mad Max movie, since the third one came out. It's been rumored forever. For a while, it was going to be maybe animated. There's been so many rumors going around. Finally, it's filming. Tom Hardy, one of my favorite actors of all time.
I think they're in post actually.
They are. It's done. You know, it's been done for a while. But the fact that it's happening, it's a real movie that's actually happening. Is like,
So tell me, how is it going to disappoint you?
Yeah.
I've already counted the ways.
yeah. There has the big trailer. In case no one knows, the trailer was released
I
at
didn't watch it
Comic Con,
yet.
and it scares me a little bit. You know, I've been really excited about this movie, and I love Tom Hardy, so I was really excited. And Charlize Theron's there, and that's cool. And the theme looks good. Like everything looks cool and gritty and dirty.
You've seen the concept
Is,
art.
is Tina
The
Turner in
concept
it?
art, no, she's not in it. Unfortunately, she's a little too old to wear that 70-pound costume.
Raggedy Man.
Just
But
asking.
you know, I don't want to nitpick the trailer apart. There were
But please do.
there were
Yeah, don't
okay.
don't hold back.
All right, I won't go back.
What upset me the most?
What upset Justin the most also upset me. This movie is supposed to take place between the first Mad Max film and the second Road Warrior.
Real quick, is this a different character in the Mad Max universe, or is the same
No,
supposed to
it's-
be?
Supposed to be Max Rackett.
Tom,
Okay.
Tom Hardy
Okay.
is playing Max.
Okay.
And it's taking place. It's a prequel taking place between the first and second movies of the trilogy. For anyone that knows anything about Mad Max, he has this very iconic car that is destroyed in the second film. They showed it being destroyed in this trailer, which makes no sense.
He just rebuilt it.
He may rebuild it. I'm trying to, again, I don't want to jump to conclusions or anything until we know for sure what's happening.
It's an
But-
alternate-
Unlike me,
it's
who
an
jumped to all
alternate
the
19.
conclusions.
One of my favorite actors of all time is the car from Mad Max. So when they said they were doing this movie, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Gary Oldman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the car from Mad Max.
It just really makes you feel the character.
It's so good.
You won the Oscar. Best part of the car.
He's joking, but in all seriousness, the cars play such a huge role in
Yeah.
these films, and
It's the last of the VA innocence.
it gets flipped in the middle of the trailer, like a minute into the trailer. It's just like, bam, oh, we didn't need that or anything. He doesn't have that in the next film.
And one of the things I was really looking forward to, was the fact like, he has the car at the end of Mad Max, and it gets blown up at the end of Road Warrior. So this movie is just going to be all him in the damn car, tearing it up and driving in the desert and running over assless chat people. And the car gets like, well, you don't know. We don't know when that happens in the
It
trailer.
could
It might
be,
be towards the end of the movie. Maybe he rebuilds it for the
Yeah,
next movie.
maybe it's the car 2 in the second one. Like
There's
it's like
a lot
Snowball
of
1,
things.
Snowball 2.
There are a lot of things.
It was the last of the V8 Interceptors. I
It
don't
was.
know.
He couldn't have rebuilt it because it was the last. But
Maybe it wasn't
Never mind. Find another.
Wait, he found one in the desert. It's like the ETs. It's all good.
He found
It's all
The one
good.
he finds in this movie is the last one.
I got it. They're gonna re-release the. You said the second movie, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to
Director's cut.
overdub it, and
Yeah.
when he says it's the last, they're going to be like, it's the penultimate.
It's B4.
funny. I got that.
Ah.
So
They're gonna superimpose a different car in it. Is that director's cut of the second one?
that could be.
It's gonna have
Also-
walkie-talkies.
Yeah, everyone's gonna have
That's how they always intended it to be.
Yeah.
You know the director.
That car shot
you know,
first.
And that's another thing. The director is George Miller. It's the same guy who did the original trilogy. So that makes me want to be excited for
And
this
Babe.
movie.
Worked out great for
However,
Prometheus.
thank you. My point exactly. You took the words
Hey,
out of my
Prometheus is
mouth.
awesome.
We're not going to talk about
that.
We're not going to talk about
Don't
Prometheus.
even-
We'll wait for when Prometheus 2 comes
I
out.
will.
and then
Oh, no,
we'll
no,
get
wait,
into all
wait
of
till
that.
the comic.
Prometheus, sir.
Yeah,
If we
More
talk about
Prometheus.
Prometheus, I'm allowed to talk about Star Trek Into Darkness.
That's right, you are. Yes.
No,
These aren't
no,
roads we want to go
so
down.
Although we can
anymore.
talk about Cumberbatch, we talk about
We
that.
are
So
shutting
anyway,
this down.
Yes.
Marvel
all right.
also had another book coming out starring Angela from Guardians of the Galaxy. She's getting her own book.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means she's
Is
not
she
Thor
in the
then,
desert?
right?
Does
No.
that tie into?
Yes.
No,
she-
but it stops
she's
them
not
from
gonna be
talking about
female
movies.
Thor.
Yes. But did her name? But they call her female Thor, just Thor though, right? Just Thor as a.
It's Thor.
Yeah.
Thor.
It's just
Mouth
for
on.
it. We're for shorthand because everyone on the universe now knows that come October they're going to make Thor into a woman. There's going to be a female character who assumes the role of Thor, and it's not going to be Angela for those few 5 Marvel people who are like, I wanted it to be Angela.
Well, it's not.
They could have been sponsored.
Deal with
Yes.
it.
But I am glad they're not calling her anything but Thor, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's not like.
Because it's a title.
Thorette.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
Fem Thor, Thorette, or
Yeah.
Thor
Thorita.
girl.
Thor girl
Thor
exists.
exists.
You
of course.
yeah. You get the power of Thor, so
With the
you're
hammer.
Thor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just rewind a bit. Was there? I wanted to hear more complaints about this movie.
There
I
are
was getting
more.
really excited.
There are more, yeah.
We-
Wait,
So-
this movie, you mean the trailer?
The trailer of the movie. I really wanted to be excited for this, and I'm still excited, but now I'm a little more cautious than I was before.
Trepidation.
There's CG. I was not expecting that. These movies were always very. I wasn't. These movies were very. They went to a
different
real
time.
desert.
No,
to
yeah, that
film
was a big
actual
deal.
Dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
The-
if they weren't gonna do that, they could have done it on green screen
so
or something.
It's
the
obvious
actual.
CG,
It's
though.
obvious
So they're not. So the location is not.
So it's clear that
Real,
the
it's a
budget
CG.
is significantly lower than.
It's not just that. I mean, they CG'd like a lightning storm. Like, did they really need to do that? Did it need to be there? They CG'd
can't
like
really
a flare.
get a lightning
Did they
storm
have
show
to
up on
do
command.
that?
It's the unnecessary stuff. that
It
drives
seemed
me
like
crazy.
it may have been
Yeah.
gratuitous, whereas like in the original Mad Max films, one of the things I loved about them, and loved about Star Wars and all those older 70s type movies, is that everything was real.
Yeah.
They wanted to drive a truck through the front of another truck, they did it, damn it. And there it is, and it's no CG, there's a cardboard front on it, who
Oh, yeah.
cares, let's just go for it.
There's something tactile about
So-
that, and they're
yeah.
doing that with J.J. Abrams is doing that with the new Star Wars movie,
Yeah.
and they made such a point about it.
Yeah.
And they talked about it in the last one.
I'm also
think it's
cautiously
important.
excited about that film, but we won't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a different topic.
I actually can't wait to see what Bane, what the hell's his name?
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy
Don't
does
talk about him
with
like that.
the character.
Yeah.
I
That,
want-
I am
would've said
excited
Benedict
about that.
Cumberbatch, and that's
That
not
would have been
it.
amazing, but no.
No.
Tom Hardy.
Imagine that.
Tom Hardy is an amazing. I think he's a great actor, and we used to make jokes like, "Who could be Max?" Oh, Tom Hardy could do it, and then they made it him. So
That's
that
awesome.
was he's one of the dream casts, if that's a good word.
Yeah.
If I
Thank
could
you.
if I could have cast anybody as Max besides Mel Gibson, it would have been Tom Hardy.
Awesome.
So that's
Because
cool.
he has that kind of crazy.
So
Yeah.
what else? What else do we see that was exciting or interesting or
I'm-
enraging?
I know switching to animated films, they've announced that there's going to be a Guardians of the Galaxy animated series.
That's
There's
cool.
going to be, from DC Animation, there's going to be Batman vs. Robin, which is going to be based on the Court of Owls storyline.
Which I'm
And there's going to
excited
be a JLA feature. I think they had a subtitle, but I'm blanking on
the
it
Throne of
right.
Atlantis one,
Maybe.
or unless they announced a newer one that I didn't see.
But the exciting part is Bruce Timm is going to be directing either one or both of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I liked it.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot that got me particularly excited this year at Comic-Con. I was kind of interested in the fact that they're doing a Skull Island movie, which is a prequel to King Kong, and that Mothra, Rodan, and Ghidorah got licensed by Legendary.
You're doing it again.
for.
But you're also excited about the other thing, though, right? The
I'm getting to some other. I'm getting to the one thing I was legitimately
Okay,
excited.
okay.
for.
I don't want. I don't
Build
want.
it up.
That's why I
Get us
didn't.
excited.
I wanted
blur it
British
out.
Past
Bring us with you.
All right.
I want to feel the Scott excitement.
You're in for a wild ride. A crossover comic between that IDW and I think Boom is pushing out of Star Trek versus Planet of the Apes. I'm so excited.
I don't mean to laugh at you that, but I saw you're like. I'm just laughing over
Hands down front,
there.
say
Yeah. I'm not
this.
laughing at the crossover. That's pretty cool. I'm laughing at how
I
you
am.
did that.
Yeah,
Oh my
that's kind
god,
of ridiculous.
I'm so excited for it.
That should be a movie.
That's a cool crossover.
No, I think it makes sense.
It's the original It's the original series Star Trek and the original movie Planet.
How does
Are
it
they
make
gonna go-
sense? How
Because
does
the
it
original
make sense?
series go anywhere.
They're gonna go around the Earth.
Take back to Earth?
Nazi
What did you guys do? We were gone for like a week.
Okay, to be fair, there have been comics where it's been X-Men crossed over with both series of Star
Yeah,
Trek.
and they made no
It's
sense.
not like the comic continuity adheres to any kind of serious science fiction.
That's true.
This only really works with the
Yeah.
original series because they would go to a gangster planet,
Yeah.
they would go to the
A,
haunted house
a
planet.
wormhole opens up and they arrive
There's a
to Planet of
haunted
the
house
Apes. Are
Oh yeah, that was one of the
Wherever-
worst
yeah.
episodes.
I watched
remember
the
that
X Files try and solve the mystery of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles recently.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited about that though. The Ghostbusters Turtles crossover.
Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome too.
Oh, that makes perfect
No,
sense.
see, in that one, the Turtles, they
Griffin
said
doors.
that Turtles do go to an alternate reality
Yeah.
where the Ghostbusters live.
not much news from the new TMNT movie out of Comic Con.
Thank God.
Thank
Coming out in
you.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
even.
Oh, no, it's
man.
next week.
I know,
It's
but there's
next
no
week,
like
yeah.
big hype train.
Dude,
out
they
of it.
really
That's-
barely have shown anything
Good.
for that movie. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because every time they show something else,
They lose thousands of people.
Yeah.
Makes
Did
me
you-
angry.
Did you hear about the poster they had to recall?
No.
No.
What?
I believe it was Australia. They released a poster for it with the turtles jumping off of an exploding skyscraper. The release
Oh,
date
yeah.
for the movie is 9/11.
9/11. Yeah, and
In that country.
Yeah.
And it's them jumping from a building as the building explodes behind them and like debris is raining down around them.
I was going to say that
So-
sounds awesome. Then she said the date was over.
Yeah.
Not thought out.
Oops.
I'm
Yeah.
sure our podcast put a hurting on it too.
Yeah, we were really hard on Michael Bay last week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
The movie's gonna suck.
It is.
Hopefully.
No, it's going to be
Bad.
bad.
Travesty.
I'll let y'all know. So I'll be the only one seeing it probably.
I know.
I'll probably see it.
We'll
Let us
go
know-
together.
Let us know how
because
much you liked it, Greg.
I'm gonna hate it,
Some-
but
Yeah.
Some other stuff that's come out of Comic
I'm not giving
Con
them money.
this year that's kind of been building apart from specific news is how the convention was run
Yeah.
and a lot of the complaints from people. For example, they I think with Hall H they created a new system for allowing people to get into the panels where you needed a wristband in order to get in. So you needed to wait in line to get a wristband in order to wait in line to get into the panels, which there was reports of people waiting for 12 to 20 hours to get, actually into the panel, of it being severe fire and safety hazards. Of
One
And
cool.
yeah,
You have a
140,000
question, too.
people still line up to get into this.
Yeah.
I have a question for that too. Because last year, one of the problems was that people had to wait in line for a long time to get into these panels, and they couldn't make it into it. So they decided to do the wristband thing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, now I understand like that sucks waiting in line for hours to get a wristband for a hall, but why would you wait in line again when you have the wristband? When the wristband tells you can walk in whenever you want. That's what I'm confused about.
No, because you still have to get into the room.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you have the wristband, they only give so many
Yeah,
out.
but-
But you got to get a seat.
But if there's
Where are you gonna sit?
if there's 1,000 people that want to get into a panel where regardless of how many wristbands they've given out, at least to my understanding is that they gave out like more wristbands than there was actual room in the
wow.
building.
That's a
for.
problem.
Plus,
What-
people can line up before the panel before it lets out.
Yeah,
Um,
like the panels run over, you're waiting, extra as well.
But,
One
I mean-
cool thing that Marvel did with the panels in Hall H is they required, right before the Marvel panel, they did a strong, I think it was strong female leads or female leads in comics.
Yeah. I heard
Yeah.
about that.
And anyone who wanted to save their seat had to sit through the females in comics into the Marvel panel, which I thought was really well done. Yeah.
Good.
But
So-
there's people complaining about that because of course,
Oh, yeah. Well,
at least my
white men, yes. Down with everyone else.
Call fan boys for a reason.
Did the women
Now,
have
girls.
did the women have boobs that could be dazzling? That's the question.
We should post a link to that article we keep referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
do that.
for people watching, I'm sure you can provide a link. There was a particularly poorly worded statement that came from Diamond, who is the major comic
The only.
the only comic distributor in
What are you gonna
North
do
America.
Let me correct you
There
on
was a
that.
particularly poorly worded with regards to female fans attending conventions.
Yeah.
That
I'll
Sean.
throw up that quote.
Yeah.
We don't want to mangle it here. We'll let
But-
them mangle it themselves.
Yeah.
In their own terrible words.
Yeah.
In addition, there's been a lot of complaints from retailers regarding Comic-Con about the number of exclusives being sold at the convention.
Most notably Mile High Comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When-
Questioning if they'll even come back.
No, saying that they
Saying
Not
they
coming
will
back.
not
I thought
come
the
back.
most recent was they weren't sure.
I don't know
whether
if he
it was-
backpedaled, but 40 years
I
he's
would.
wanted to go
Okay.
in there, and he had that big an issue. I guess they lost a lot of money.
So
Those
let's
$10,000
do a
giveaway.
quick rundown. One of the largest comic book retailers in the world, period. Out of Denver or Boulder?
Denver.
They've Boulder's.
Oh, I thought the main
So
campus was
they're out of Colorado.
Yeah, there's a bunch
Mile
of
High
Colorado.
Comics. They go every year. The guy's been going for the past 40 years since he was a kid. This year he lost $10,000 with the booth there. Says he'll never go back, and he blames it on exclusives at other booths like Marvel and DC. The publishers themselves giving out exclusives. However, there are counter arguments to that. People said that his booth was overpriced and a mess. And there were plenty of other booths that made a lot of money.
Yeah.
He said, I guess the con they did previous to that, 'cause I guess they do all the major cons.
Denver Comic Con.
Denver Comic Con,
Yeah.
that they made $40,000.
Yeah, they had a significant profit made at a smaller convention where there wasn't as big of a production focus from the major companies, whereas at Comic-Con, which is the major outlet for news from all the major companies, they took like a $10,000 loss.
Now, there's more to spend your money on at Comic-Con.
There's more
There
competition.
Yeah.
Right.
At Denver Comic Con, there was no Marvel booth. There was no
Right.
Yeah.
DC booth. No whatever booth.
The real question for that is, if you see an issue of Batman 17, and you see a regular issue of Batman 17 on sale for $3, $2, whatever, or you see for $5 you can buy the Comic-Con exclusive variant of Batman 17, which one would you buy?
What if they had Batman 17 for $5 at Mile High, non-exclusive, same price as the exclusive, and then a booth next to them had it for 99 cents because they had a bunch of extra ones and they wanted to get rid of it? Who are you blaming that?
If it's a Comic-Con exclusive, I'd probably buy the Comic-Con exclusive one anyway.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sucks because I'm doing nothing but hurting the industry by that.
I don't think you
no,
are
like,
at all.
no.
You're still supporting the
You're-
industry. You're just
no.
supporting it directly to the publishers as
Marvel or
opposed to
DC.
the intermediary.
You're encouraging them to do select release, and that's not really okay.
Yeah. I mean, I understand from
Scott angry.
I personally am a huge collector both from figurines and comics, and it's incredibly frustrating to realize that I cannot afford to travel out to Comic-Con, and there's going to be parts of my collection that I will never be able to complete, and this is incredibly a first world
Hail me,
problem.
sister.
Yeah. But it's such an incredibly petty problem in the large scheme, but for the comic world, it's like you're favoring specific customer bases over others.
Yes.
So, as a retailer, I can definitely sympathize with the idea of the publishers cutting you out of the deal. You know, taking in or offering a product direct to consumers or through another retailer that cuts you out. It happens to us constantly with video games. Video games are the worst for that. Everybody's got an exclusive. We almost never get exclusives.
As a consumer, it bothers me too, though.
Yeah, and
Like
it's frustrating.
video game wise, I won't buy certain video games if they're like, you can get this exclusive at Best Buy, and this exclusive at GameStop, and this exclusive from Amazon, and this exclusive from this place, and I'm just like, well, screw it, I'm not getting it.
I know with Watch Dogs in particular, someone had a huge chart of
It's
with
absurd.
it essentially coming down to there is no way that you can buy a copy of Watch Dogs, regardless of which retailer you go to, and get everything from the game.
But that happens in other industries, and I think that as a retailer, as sympathetic as I can be, because I've been there, I also have to say, deal with it. It's a reality. You can't change it. Being angry won't change it. How do you get around that?
And for
You stop buying it, and that's
He
what I
has
did.
enough. He has a
Or-
big enough business probably to invest and do his own exclusives and feed to that market.
Yeah, how come he doesn't have any exclusives?
Exactly. And he could. There are
Sure.
stores that have individual exclusives.
I'm sure he has exclusives.
They
where-
offered it to us. So put them front and center. Make a huge display at your booth. Like Mile High
And
Comics
I
exclusives.
read something that he did have some of like the exclusive items in his booth, but they were like behind things and like falling over, and people couldn't see
See,
them.
and that's the problem. Like, I don't begrudge Marvel or DC having exclusives to themselves because they go to two cons usually, New York and San Diego.
Which makes sense.
There are plenty other. I'm not saying he's gonna fly out to wherever to go to our Comic Con, whatever, the guy from Mile High. But there's plenty of other conventions that he can make his money at where he's at, which he did at Dragon Con. I don't begrudge Marvel DC having these exclusives because they come out twice. And I understand they're a huge corporation, they have plenty of money.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
But that's more for like just kind of going like completionists and people who just want these special variants. But I think it's just if from what I was reading too, it sounds like a lot of the stuff was overpriced, and that's a big problem too. You can't be like, we're the best, and you're gonna pay top dollar for this issue when you go right next door and buy it for $2 or $1 or
That's
whatever.
that's a valid.
He's
that's a
operating on the
valid
mentality
argument.
that conventions are where you overprice your things because
Yes.
if people are going to be on the like, I can only get this here. I'm going to pay whatever amount of money
Yeah.
to get that here.
Except he's got competition that
Right.
doesn't
Everywhere,
subscribe
yeah.
to
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
10 years ago, he was probably making money hand over fist with
Yeah.
his business model. And he hasn't changed it with the times that are changing a little bit. Or the popularity with more people coming in doing the same thing he's doing, maybe cheaper.
Yeah.
And like
And he's hurting himself by doing that.
like 10 years ago, there wouldn't be someone at his booth Googling what the actual price would be and like, well, I can get this on eBay for $20
Yes.
cheaper than what he's selling it
And
for.
that is absolutely something I can sympathize with
Yeah.
as a retailer. It is frustrating, and I have complained about it myself. We have had long conversations
But
complaining
we
about
know we're
certain
not
things.
changing that.
Exactly, and so that's at the end of the day, that's the question you have to ask yourself. Is
We've
is this
changed for
enough?
it.
Is
Yeah.
this enough to say, fine, I'm done, throw in the towel, I can't compete, or find a way to compete? Talk about something else that you can do to differentiate yourself from that. All right, you can't throw out the variants, you can't put the exclusives up there. They're going to go to Marvel, whatever. So I don't know. He's got like the largest comic inventory.
Bring your dollar
in the
books.
world. Yeah, not even, man. Just sell them like grab bags.
Well,
$5,
that's a good point where it's like
$6 for $1.
price
whatever.
books for $1 that other businesses are going to sell for $5. You're going to make probably 3 times the business with people.
And
the
that's,
Amazon
and that's what
model.
happened to him. He didn't change, everybody else did. And so he's complaining that people changed and he didn't.
Right.
And he
That's
doesn't
what
understand
it's-
why.
That's what it seems like. At the end of the day, like I want to say, bravo, stick it to him, but I can't help
Only
but
hurting
think
yourself.
like,
It's, you know what's funny? Because when I first read what he wrote, I was like, yeah, you're damn right. And I thought about it, and I thought about, people spending their money, and who is he to say where people should be spending their money?
Right.
You got to work for that money.
Exactly.
He's got to
It
earn
doesn't
that.
automatically come to him because he's there set up with 7 booths.
And again, if he's overpricing these things, he's most likely, like, just say, for instance, there's a book there at $6. He probably paid $1 for it. So why don't you lower it to $3, $4?
Yeah, we
That's
know-
a hard
we know the
precedent.
profit
Was that?
That's a hard precedent. He rebuys, does he not?
He does.
So
But we know enough people who rebuy who...
we know people who rebuy. I don't know what he does.
Don't tell me that he's not getting books.
Yeah.
by
I don't
$1.
know.
No,
Do
he
you?
is. He absolutely
Yeah,
is.
you
No
don't,
way.
You don't exist for 40 years.
Yeah,
without
there's
making-
no
I'm
way.
just saying I don't know.
We know what he sells them at. So
I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I don't know that I don't know.
Let me put it this way.
Are we back to that already?
95%
Yeah,
sure
we're
that
already
I'm
repeating
right.
ourselves.
So
It's his catchphrase. You can't hold that against him.
So we've gone way over our allotted time.
Yeah.
Right. But I
See you
think
later.
There's a lot of.
There was a lot of meat to cover there.
All right, we'll
Yeah.
just end there. I was going to say that I think there's still so much more to say, and I'd like to have a discussion specifically about being a retailer sometime in the future because I think we can actually.
You know, we forgot to hit on
Speak about
My
that.
Little Pony.
Oh,
Next time.
Next
No,
time.
Can
I
you
gotta
pixelate?
say-
If I give him the finger, can you pixelate?
I'd encourage people to make comments in our comment section and continue the discussion because we will get in on that and answer anything anybody says.
And the other thing we love is if you watch this, come into the store and talk about it.
Yeah.
We do have some
Yeah.
people that
If
do
you're
that.
able to, I'm sure there's one lonely fan who's watching this overseas who wants desperately to come into Level Up.
Well,
We'll be over there
there is that
sometime.
guy in Germany that won that poster from us. So
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
possible.
Unless you're in Canada, just stay there.
That's a whole other story.
All right. Well, I think we've said all we really need to say
Let them
about.
come here and make their decision.
So,
All right.
thanks for joining us. So we'll probably have to continue this discussion elsewhere, though, because there's so much more to be said.
There
But
is.
I think that was a
Yeah.
good one. All right, guys.
All right, guys. Peace.